Okay. Welcome to Film Student Study Guide. I am Roberto Stens, and this is my co-host Truman Matheny.
There we go.
This episode is over Eraserhead, which is an interesting film, to say the least. And then next episode is over Pi, which I think that I'll like a lot.
I think I've given you a very, very small description of what Pi is about that doesn't give anything away, and also is based on my viewing of it in, I believe, like 8th grade or 7th grade. So I don't know if I've at all given you an idea of what you're going to watch.
Well,
what I remember is it being a pretty wackadoo film that's really enjoyable, though.
Interesting. I mean, I like stock market things, so we'll see. Anyway, last week we had a conversation about the Star Wars movies and how you think that they're boring and that the special effects are bad and that you just think that they're bad movies.
Yeah.
And so I went back and I watched A New Hope and An Empire Strikes Back. And I partially think that you're correct. I think that
Okay, why?
I think that the part that you're correct is with A New Hope. I think Empire Strikes Back is flawless. I watched it and it was just perfect. Like, okay,
Wow,
we'll
because
go.
Empire Strikes Back is the one that I find to be more boring.
No, see, A New Hope.
Specifically, I think that Empire Strikes Back, my problem with it is that it loses me so quickly with the Hoth scene, because it's super, I think the whole, whatever they're called, T Walker whatever,
AT-ATs?
yeah, are actually pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
And that whole sequence is not a bad sequence, but then when we immediately get thrown into Luke and the Yeti monster, which is I think is super stupid. What?
The Yeti monster is before. That's the opening of the movie.
Okay, that whole thing is super stupid and boring, and then the whole thing after that with the tension between Han Solo and Princess Leia are just, I don't care.
Ah, that's
I don't care
I like that.
All. No, I think
it.
Han might be the only good character in the film.
Oh, I agree. Han is the best character in the film. I feel like he's the only one who has like characterization.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think he's the only dynamic character at all. And then I appreciate the relationship between him and Chewbacca. I think that's a good addition, but I just get so bored by all the other flat characters.
Yeah, because I feel like all the other, like, Luke is starting to like maybe get some dynamics. But
no, he's a whiny little kid throughout the whole film, and I don't enjoy hanging out with him. That's the thing.
I enjoy the things that he does and the things that they're talking about because it's cool, but I don't like him.
Also, I don't care about his Jedi training. It's super... It's like the one part of 80s movies that I don't like.
The training montage?
That type of thing. I don't care about their training that much, and I think modern movies have found ways to expedite that whole concept. That's also why I'm personally not a big fan of the Karate Kid. I do respect the Karate Kid, though. It's just not for me, and that's because I feel like so much of the movie is spent on the training.
Yeah, you know what? Now that you're thinking about it, like, all the scenes with Han in them are the best. The scenes with Luke in them, except for the ending with Darth Vader, I just don't really care about. Like, it's important to the overall like plot structure of the movie, I guess. I mean, but like,
And it doesn't help that both Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi are not fun to watch. They are not interesting characters. It's like, oh, cool, he's a green monster. That's super cool.
Yeah,
and then it
like,
wears off so quickly.
You want another old mentor? Here's another old mentor. Now they're both in the same scene together. I agree. I can see that. But like the scenes with Han where he's like flying in the Millennium Falcon and he's escaping from like TIE fighters and they like go into the asteroid, like that's cool. That scene is like so awesome. That scene just makes me happy.
Yeah, I would say I definitely don't have a problem with the Han Solo escape sequence, and I think I prefer Han shooting first.
Oh, 100%. Here's the main thing that I was gonna say. So I watched the original movies. I watched the ones that like. There's the whole thing of like the specialized versions and the original versions. I don't
remember what. So was the original where Han shot first?
Yes. Okay. And then later on, Lucas came back and changed a couple things and added some CG and did to sort of just change them all. This happened the most to A New Hope and happened less and less throughout the rest of the films. I believe, yeah. But I went back and there's some versions that you can find of the ones that haven't been messed with at all. They're the original cuts, and so I watched those ones. Yeah. So for A New Hope, I realized that until like Luke and Obi-Wan start talking about Force things and his parents die, or not his parents, his aunt and uncle die, I do not care. All of that stuff is boring. All of it, like, until his aunt and uncle die, and we start to get like some stuff with like, oh, it's a lightsaber, right? I just don't care. Like, it's just like,
Well, my other big critique with the movie is that it doesn't hold up to multiple viewings.
Yeah.
And so that's the big thing about it is, sure, a plot twist is fine. You know, the Empire Strikes Back, that he's actually his father. You know, sure, a plot twist is fine for the first time you watch the movie, right? But once you know that that's the truth, it doesn't really make a difference. Whereas I do think that's a difference with a movie like The Sixth Sense, where I knew going into it what the plot twist at the end was, which, if you know what the plot twist is, I'm gonna be mad that you said it on our podcast.
I don't,
because I am not a spoiler maker unless I give.
I'm guessing it's one of those things where if you know it and then you watch it again, it makes the film better because you know what's coming and you can see
exactly
like, how it filters into the rest of the movie and like actions that like characters make. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
So I don't think the Star Wars plot twist has enough interesting build-up or interesting clues. They pretty much spell it out immediately when he gets to Yoda. He's like, by the way, I don't know if you know this, Anakin Skywalker was definitely your father. And he's like, no way. And then you're just like, all right. Luke doesn't think so whatever. And then at the end of the movie, they're like, wait, he wasn't lying.
Yeah.
You know? And so I think that's stupid and ridiculous. So my main point is that for a film series that has such a heavy following, I don't think you gain anything more for frequent viewings of the film. I think you get it all the way through the first time.
Yeah.
I
think that, like, I feel like especially with A New Hope, like, there's just so many scenes that I just feel are not interesting. Like, there's...
Yeah.
Like anything with like the Jawas and R2D2 and C3PO on the desert planet on Tatooine, it's just, I just don't care.
I actually didn't hate that stuff.
Yeah.
I just got so pissed anytime Luke was on screen because I don't like him.
See, I'm really interested to see. I'm gonna watch Return of the Jedi after this, and I really want to see
Return of the Jedi. He changes a good amount, and I think that's why.
Yeah, I think that I might like that more.
Of the three films, I think Return of of the main trilogy, Return of the Jedi is definitely my favorite, and I think a large part of that is that Luke isn't such a whiny baby the whole time. He becomes the action hero badass, you know. But even then, I don't think he's the
action hero badass, but he's like calm and collected, and he's a Jedi.
I haven't watched that one in a long time, so I don't know that I can really comment on it. And then the other thing is while all of the other movies bore me from the get-go, Return of the Jedi really is interesting from the get-go because of the whole, is it the Sarlacc pit?
Yeah, and well, the whole thing is to save Han. Like, they're like, and Han has been established as like an important character, and so you care because you want them to save Han. In the beginning on the desert planet, you're like, or at the beginning of New Hope, you're like, I don't really care about these people because I don't know them, and it doesn't really introduce them that well. For Empire Strikes Back, it's important because the Empire is like attacking the rebels and like trying to like kill them, and like there's a conflict there. But with A New Hope, there's a conflict with people that you don't know and people that you don't care about. So although there is a conflict, you don't care about the conflict, and you don't start to care about the conflict until like 30-40 minutes into the film, where like the plot actually starts to take pace, and at that point you're already third way through the film, and even then there's still some scenes that drag in certain places, and it's just it's weird.
Which ones are which? Does Return of the Jedi drag in places?
No, I'm talking about A New Hope with that drag in places. I will talk about Return of the Jedi whenever I watch it because I still need to watch it. But yeah, Empire Strikes Back I just think it's just entertaining. It's just it just makes me happy. And
see, I think Empire Strikes Back is the more boring of the two.
Why?
Let's start with one of the main things that I got super bored with was what's the one black character's name in Star Wars?
The actor is Billy D. Williams. It's Lando Calrissian.
Yeah, that whole Lando Calrissian scene bored the crap out of me. And although I was glad to see, some representation, I don't think one black character makes up for all white everyone else.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I think he's a boring and uninteresting character. Why couldn't they pick a cooler character to give?
I don't know. He's kind of cool.
I was so bored in his utopian society. Boring. And then I feel like, we just watched Luke in A New Hope become less of a whiny baby. Just at the very, very end, he's like, all right, I'll blow up the Death Star. We can do it, And then he's back to being a whiny baby throughout the whole film. And I don't know. I don't remember the end of Empire Strikes Back. Even in the end. He's a whiny baby through the end in that one.
Yeah.
Luke is...
I think Luke is probably the worst character of the first two movies.
And then also, Han Solo is so preoccupied with his whole love thing with Leia throughout, I think, pretty much the whole movie, that he doesn't get to be as interesting a character.
I mean, yeah, but I think their interplay is what makes them interesting. And yeah, I feel like there definitely should have, there could have been like a lot more time spent with Han. But at that point, if you spend more time with Han, then it just steals the show. because
it's
I
just
just feel like
I wish
he's the
that the
strongest
time
character.
we did. I wish that the time we did spend with Han Solo was him being more like the interesting, lawless man that he is in A New Hope, rather than the love-struck, trying to still be badass guy that we see in Empire Strikes Back. But yeah, I think we've talked about Star Wars enough for this episode. I think we should get into it.
Okay, there's a couple more things that I want to note that I would just want to go through.
Go for it.
The conference room scene in the New Hope is just a dick measuring contest, and it's boring, and I hate it, and it's just annoying, and it gives background.
Is that the one where
he gets choked?
Darth Vader?
Yeah.
Okay, that was kind of sick.
I mean, I just don't like. I just find it just like, oh, my fleet is better than your fleet. Meh, meh. This Death Star is the best. And then Darth Vader's like, well, actually the Force is more powerful. And he's like, I doubt it. And then he chokes him, and that's the end of the scene. And it's just, it's important, I guess, just to show that Darth Vader's like a scary person, and he can just freaking choke people with his mind. But it's just a dick measuring scene.
I don't like the whole scene. I just like that guy getting choked.
Yeah. That I would agree with that. Han is cool if he shoots first. It just makes him look cool and a badass, and I like it. Dialogue in the first film is weird. Like, it just feels like a weird, like, it feels like you're reading like a play from, like, it feels like I'm in English class for some of the lines. Like, it's just like that, like, some of the lines just aren't what normal humans speak, and it just feels weird to me. Like, towards the middle of the movie, it works. Whenever there's, like, more, like, action, it works. And I feel like some of the dialogue is sort of, like, zany space talk, I guess. But then others just weird. Empire Strikes Back is a lot better than this. There's not really any weird lines. Yeah?
One more thing I wanted to say is I feel like Princess Leia is not a good badass female character.
No, I would agree.
Which, again, I really want to have this episode, but we don't have someone who has any credibility on the issue. But yeah, I will continue to stand strong.
They left us on raid.
I will continue to say that there is no better badass of cinema than Ripley from Alien.
Okay, we can talk about we can talk about this later about getting people on.
Yeah.
I feel like the Han and Leia relationship in A New Hope sort of seems like an icky 70s like relationship. Like, it's just kind of like, ooh. Like, it's not like actually just like, oh, that's wrong, but it's sort of just like, I sort of just get like hints of like, that feels 70s. That feels like an like archaic thing that like someone would ask, or someone would like, it feels icky to me. And there's parts of that in Empire Strikes Back, but because they are both like each other, then it's okay, I feel. And like, it's more okay. But like in A New Hope, it just like, there's parts that feel a little bit icky, but it doesn't really. A New Hope definitely went down a few pegs. Oh, you'd find this funny. Luke looks like a Terrytown like TC shitter. Like his haircut and everything, and just like he's like, I want to go to Tashi's age and pick up power. Like, he looks like a Terrytown like shitter. Like, what's the middle school that's not O. Henry, or not the elementary school, the elementary school that's like feeds into O. Henry, that's from Terrytown?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I'm from the South. 3-6.
Okay.
And 3-5.
I feel like in Empire Strikes Back, the opening crawl in A New Hope, I just don't like, because I just don't care about any of the people. And it's like, they stole all the plans and and it like tells of like of this like cool story that happened when they're stealing the plans. I'm like, oh, I want to watch that movie. Show me that movie. I want to see that. That sounds cool. And then you go to boring stuff, which is annoying. Empire Strikes Back works a lot better because you already know these characters.
We good?
Oh, the music is the best in Empire Strikes Back. It's just perfect. Ooh. I like that they're fixing the ship as they're getting shot at when they're escaping, and like stuff is breaking and they have to like go and like fix it as like that's cool. That's a funny little thing. Yeah. That's C-3PO has some more characterization because he starts the like possibilities thing, which is a funny little quip, I guess. But it just gets annoying in later movies because they make it more of a thing.
Roberto, we're getting close to.
I'm sorry.
We'll more than opening banter.
I'm sorry. We can go on to Eraserhead now.
All right, cool.
So,
do you have opening remarks?
This movie is weird. There's like a lot of I feel like there's definitely a meaning behind everything that you see. It's just it feels like it's a movie from an alien world where if I was on that alien world and I knew the alien world's customs, I would understand the movie and the movie would make sense to me. And the movie would like be really like cool and like an interesting sort of like look into like how these aliens like work and how like sort of like the mental, I don't know, processes behind them, or like an interesting dive into that. But I live on planet Earth and that's not an alien world, and so I can't see that.
I wonder if David Lynch is actually an alien. I
He's
hope
a lizard
to God
person.
he is. I don't think he's a lizard person, but I wouldn't put it past David Lynch to be an alien.
Maybe.
I would appreciate.
What other films has he
more
made?
for that. So for me, David Lynch is really hit or miss, and I think most people would agree with that, because even most of the people that I know that like David Lynch, they all have, their couple of films. It's kind of like, did I talk to you about how if you ask Lars von Trier fans whether they like, whether they like one Lars von Trier movie or another, there is a grouping of films that like this set of Lars von Trier fans
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same.
It's similar. I think it's similar to David Lynch, but I don't know that it's as like this specific group.
Yeah.
And also, it's very interesting how, Lars von Trier, there's two phases, kind of the way I see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then David Lynch does a yes movie, then a no movie, and then two yeses, and then, one no.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I haven't seen all his movies. I really want to see Elephant Man, because that's one of his most famous.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like Twin Peaks. I don't like Blue Velvet. But I love Mulholland Drive, and I love Eraserhead.
Gotcha.
I don't know that I've seen any of his other films, which is kind of a shame. I've seen a couple of his short films, which, generally speaking, I like his short films a good amount. But I'm going to look up his IMDb just to have up while we are checking him out.
So what movies has David Lynch made? Because
I just listed them.
Oh, I thought that was Lars von Trier.
No. Lars von Trier has a very different setup.
Oh, okay.
No, all of the actual film titles that I listed, he made. Oh, also he made Dune, which I haven't seen.
I need to go back and... Okay, I understand now. Okay. So, I need to go back... I'm actually excited for that new Dune movie. I want to see what it's
I
like.
definitely am too, and it's Denis Villeneuve.
Ooh, it is. Oh,
And
yes.
I really like him.
Oh, I love him.
Have you gone back and seen some of his other stuff previous
No,
to?
I really need to. Sicario is still on my list.
Didn't you watch Enemy?
No, I haven't. There must be someone else.
Okay. Yeah, Enemy's
I need to go
cool.
back and watch all of that stuff. Which just sucks with that, like, with that COVID all happening, because we're not going to get all these movies anytime soon. Like the new Wes Anderson movie, the Dune, all, like, there's some
The
interesting
Green
movies.
Knight I'm pumped for.
Oh, the new Fast and the Furious movie, the new James Bond movie. Like, there's some...
I'm pumped for the Green Knight. Is the James Bond movie still happening?
Yeah, it got delayed. It was supposed to come out by now, but it got delayed.
Dude, from what I read, it was like, oh, this person got fired, this person got rehired, this person got fired, this person, they're pushing back the release date because of these problems, to where I'm like, dude, is it really gonna happen?
Well, I mean, they already filmed it.
So it is official, like, for real gonna happen.
Yeah, they already filmed it all. It's in post-production.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the trailer came out for it.
Okay, I didn't realize. Because I was kind of in a I'll believe it when I see it type of mindset with that.
Yeah, they had a release date. It's gonna come out. It was supposed to come out in like sometime around now, but then because of COVID, I think it got pushed back.
So yeah, I'm a fan of David Lynch generally speaking, and even then, I appreciate that I don't like all his movies.
Yeah,
I'm very glad that I don't like all his movies because he's more weird and divisive for having such a diverse repertoire.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of pressure. I feel like there's a lot of pressure to, like, if you are a film major, you must like these movies. You must like these are the best. You must like this. You must see this. You must, like, get this. And I feel like that's very limiting creatively. I feel like that's like it just turns into like a cult of like these are the movies that we make and these are our influences. And I feel like that's very like that's not what art should
my
be
opinion
like.
On all of it is I really get annoyed when I talk to film majors who aren't haven't taken it upon themselves to get a relatively diverse film education. What?
So I annoy you?
No, you're definitely getting a lot better, for sure through this, and you have really good opinions. I would say.
Thank you. I feel like another thing is that I'm not afraid to like say that I'm wrong or like go out and say that I don't know because I haven't seen these things, which I feel like might help a lot.
But yeah, I just get annoyed when, the only movies I hear about are the, 5 Best Picture nominees that, film majors like, and they all have the same opinion, right? And anytime I bring up other movies outside of, the movies that have come out that have been great movies in the past, 10 years or so with the film majors, a lot of times people don't know anything about them. And maybe I'm asking about the wrong movies or so. Maybe I'm being overly pretentious, which...
You might be.
Yeah, regularly happens. Yeah. I'm not afraid to admit the character flaw there. Yeah, so I appreciate a robust understanding, and so the point I'm trying to make is I don't think it's important that you like all of the movies,
but it's important that you watch them.
Agreed, and understand why they are.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think that's important for a well-rounded, well-educated film background. But I'm a person who is being educated right now, and not a person who has had any success. But I hope our Lord and Savior Scorsese would agree with me.
Okay, let's focus back on Eraserhead. Unless you have anything else to say. Yeah.
So yeah, back on Eraserhead. What was your points?
I don't know. I feel like I just need to get a better understanding. Like, I feel like I just need to get, like, the base idea of
I have a feeling
it is, and then I feel like everything else could fall into place. Like, there's some interesting things that I like in his apartment. There's he has, like, the one picture that he has is, like, of a nuclear bomb. It's like a painting of a nuclear bomb going off.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, and there's also, like, small, like, wooden, like, flat skull things on his wall as well.
I like the plants that have no vase.
Yeah.
Or pot.
Or, like, the dirt that was just below the radiator.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot that, like, I feel like there's something there, but I just can't, like, reach it. You know what I mean?
I think just overall the set design is really cool. I think what it's trying to show, and this is my guess, is that he's a man-child, you know? He hasn't really grown up to actually understand taste. And so they're kind of exaggerating his man-childness through that. At least that's what I think. Or
he's, like,
maybe
putting pennies in, like, a bowl of water.
Or maybe, since I think this is surrealism from his perspective, maybe he's feeling like even the decoration in his house he doesn't even like, and they're kind of a monkey suit. Maybe that's another interpretation of it. Yeah, that's what I was getting into with my sister. I was debating about explaining the movie to her or not. I kind of wanted to know what her thoughts were with no information about what she just saw. But then I realized I was going to talk to you, and it'd be more interesting to talk to you about, you know, having no information about what you just saw.
Yeah.
And so I explained it to her after the first scene. She didn't, I was like, Carter, do you want to know what you just watched? And she was like, some alien invasion. I was like,
I don't think so, no.
You just watched a sex scene. And she was like, what? Oh my gosh, that's crazy. What?
Wait, so
how?
are the things that are, like, that comes out of his mouth, is that, or that, like, the person later steps on, are those his testicles?
That's an interesting way of looking at it.
I'm just going off of this based of, like, the anatomy and, like, the similarity, because it's sort of like a ball on the end of a tube.
Yeah, Carter and I had a lot of different discussions about what it could be. I'm pretty darn sure that the opening one is semen. Because he's getting that girl pregnant, right, in that scene?
Okay.
At least I think. Again, I'm not sure about any of this. And I think the beauty of this whole film is that there's so many possible interpretations, and each person could take something away, something different.
Yeah.
So this is just what
I've
done a little bit of reading.
Would be the worst.
But yeah. Anyway, towards the middle, specifically with the radiator girl, Carter kept asking me, what do you think this means? What do you think this means? And I, partially I was getting annoyed with it, and partially I didn't know. And so I was like, Carter, you can analyze all you want, or you can also just watch and see.
Watch the film, yeah.
What's going on and take it as is, you know? Like, I loved watching it from the perspective of, nah, this is just real. This is just the world they're living in this movie where his head can pop off and they can turn it into erasers. Like, cool. You know, I just liked watching it like that and letting it, you know, mean nothing, even though I know it all means something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess I prefer watching it from the perspective of, all right, his head's gonna pop off. All right, cool. Let it be, you know?
Yeah.
And then going back and thinking about it from the perspective of what's David Lynch really trying to say.
Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. I like that.
The other big one, so also from that scene you were talking about, Carter thought he was masturbating while his wife was asleep, when he's throwing all those, you know, testicle-looking things at the wall. And I thought maybe he was having a wet dream. So
then if those both... So then that would sort of just nail it that those are his testicles.
So that's possible. But so then when she's stepping on those things, my thought was maybe the radiator lady is how he views his wife. And it's like the, you know, his nightmares about his wife or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe she is crushing on his testicles, like you said, which I hadn't come up with yet. And maybe that's just him having his manhood crushed, you know?
Yeah.
But I just think this movie's so cool.
Yeah.
And for so much of the movie, I really don't care what it means because I'm just enjoying watching what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
You know? I love the In Heaven Everything Is Fine song, you know? I love when his head gets turned into erasers. I love that whole sequence where he comes into the radiator, you know, and then his hands are his hands, but his head is his baby's hands. Even though I do sadly know what that one means, and I believe pretty definitively I know that it means he is afraid that his baby will replace him. But yeah, which I love that concept too. I love that, like, we're not just talking about a man who's afraid of being a father and afraid of, you know, living alone and all this responsibility, and, you know, a wife that might not love him, but he's legitimately afraid that his baby will replace him and that he will be nothing and that, you know, his baby will be all that matters. Like, I love that that's the fear, because that's weird. I've never seen that in a movie before, you know? I think there's a lot of feelings of an expecting father, which I've never been.
Really?
I don't know.
Wow.
So I don't know. But my guess is that there are a lot of feelings, kind of like that whole getting skittish on your wedding day, right?
Yeah.
Type thing that we probably haven't covered, and different characters might be going through that differently, you know?
Yeah.
And so I thought it was cool.
We're 18 and 19.
I thought it was...
haven't gotten there yet.
I thought it was cool that, you know, this guy is thinking his child will replace him. That's so cool and so weird. And, I mean, I would feel that way personally.
I mean, but I don't think that's... I feel like that's sort of the point, though, right?
What do you mean?
Of having a kid?
I don't want to get into this. You and I can talk about this later. I don't want to have kids. If we start talking about it, it's going to take over the whole podcast.
Gotcha.
And maybe that's not entirely counterproductive because that might relate to why I like this film so much, because
it makes you think.
No, because I can relate, and one of my biggest fears, I have two, growing old and having a child.
Really?
Those are my two biggest fears, yes.
So whenever someone on Tinder is like, give me a kid, you're like, and this on the left?
That's a particular scenario. Let's take it a different way. If someone on Tinder has a child and in their bio specifically says has to be good with kids, has to love my kid just as much as they love me, that's a swipe left.
Gotcha.
Because I don't want to waste their time. I'm going to pretend to like their kid, most likely.
But you would be fine with dating someone who already has a kid.
So long as I don't have to interact with that kid.
Ooh, okay. So you don't want to like go to the ice cream store with the kid?
No. I don't have interest in that. But this is counterproductive. This is counterproductive towards the film. I think we've made the point of why I might like this film even more. Did you have other comments? I've been kind of dominating this episode for a while.
Well, I just don't... There's a lot of... I feel like I just don't really understand, and I can't really, fully see it. But I feel like the sound is really interesting. Like, I feel like there's a lot that you could probably get. Like, once I feel like this is definitely a movie that you can get a lot from rewatching. Because I feel like the more that you watch it, the more that you'll find out more about the movie. And the more that you'll, start to think about it more. And you'll start to, try and figure things out. Because I feel like
that's why I really appreciated this opportunity to give me an extra reason to rewatch Eraserhead.
Yep.
Because I hadn't in a while.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that would be the sound. I feel like a big part of that would be the lighting and the camera.
One thing I don't know, and you can fill me in based on your watching, I had it set up on my projector in the garage, right? Which has been so sick.
Yeah.
And that's an aux cord into a JBL, right? And I've been noticing that the sound has been finicky, specifically when watching DVDs, because I think some of my DVDs are a little scratched up. So there were parts where the dialogue cut out in Inception. Nothing cut out in Eraserhead, but I'm curious if... Did you notice that in many of the scenes there was absolutely no room tone? And so it was completely silent unless someone was talking or someone was doing something? Because that's what I saw and I really liked.
I did not. What I'd noticed is that there was a lot of ambient noises. And there was a lot of, I feel like there's a lot of, ambient things and, weird... I don't know how to describe it. Like the way that I would describe it would be things that specifically I would know and that aren't really transferable to other people. But I don't know. They're just sort of ambient tracks of sort of Foley, I guess. But if you just put it in an ambient track and you're just synth things, but not really because it's the 70s. And I don't know. I feel like maybe instead of room noises? Tone, yeah, maybe instead of room tone, there's these things. Also, interesting side note: this movie came out the same year as A New Hope. So
really,
yeah, both 77. Yeah, I feel like on rewatches the sound would become really, really interesting once you have an overall grasp of the film. Just because I feel like the overall creative vision was I feel like he probably got he probably this is what I want to make, and I feel like he might have made that, and I feel like every choice of what happens in the film like is there for a reason. And if a movie like this has like full of like so many like hidden meanings, then the sound and like the sound design must have some sort of meaning of its own there.
So I'm debating about which of my 3 anecdotes I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. I think I'll go with one of the other main reasons why this movie is near and dear to me is because this was David Lynch's college film, I believe. I'm most of the way sure that he made this while still in college. And so to see that, you know, you can make a film going to film school, you know, while you're still in film school and get it on the Criterion freaking collection, which I hold to be the lords of taste.
The lords of pretentious movies?
Yes. You know, that's very
Michael
inspiring
Bay has 3
to
films
me.
on there.
Michael Bay has 2, I believe.
Oh, 2? I thought it was 3.
It's The Rock and Armageddon, which I will say that I personally disagree with their
Armageddon
inclusion on the Criterion collection. However, I don't have a however.
They are the lords of taste, and how can you disagree with the lords of pretentious movies?
Yeah, just like they got enough other stuff that I could just be like, we're forgetting that, you know, Armageddon and The Rock are.
Yeah, for like, if there's a conversion of 2 good movies to 1 bad movie, they've definitely been. Like, you could just go on and add like all the Transformers movies, and they'd still be like positive in the hundreds.
Transformers 1 was sick.
All the other ones weren't.
Fair.
I feel like the use of like lighting is obviously very important in this movie. I feel like the setting is also interesting, and I don't know, just like the way that things look.
Yeah, I like all the practical stuff. I think the set design is so key in this movie. And I think the way they do all the stuff. I was talking to Carter about this. I'm going to sound like a classic film major when I say that I'm not a big fan of CGI, and I'm a bigger fan of practical effects, which is to a point true, you know what I mean? I think something like the Avengers movies, of course, need their special effects, and they're better for using CGI over practical effects in a lot of places. But when it comes down to squibs, this one I will stand strong on. When it comes down to squibs, there is no excuse to be using CGI squibs, you know, as a result of, you know, what you want to do.
Squibs are expensive. Squibs are really expensive.
Okay, maybe for money reasons, okay, but they just look way better real squibs. 100%. Like 5 times better. And they're ridiculous,
if you're doing like a giant action scene where like 20 people get shot and you have like 4 takes of it, that's 100 squibs.
Do it. It looks cool.
Fair enough. I agree with you. It just shit adds up.
Yeah, I see. Put it this way: I see why Deadpool had to go the route of CGI squibs.
Yeah,
a lot of the whole concept of that film was how much can we use CGI to our benefit as far as cost reduction.
Yeah.
However, any CGI squibs that they used in Deadpool 2, which I believe were pretty small, if any, I definitely think that was a lame call. when they have the enough of a budget for it,
Yeah. So we haven't talked about this at all. What do you think of the dinner scene?
Oh, I love the dinner scene.
Why
the
does
dad is so ridiculous. I love the dad.
And
I don't much care for the mom.
He just pauses with like a creepy smile, and he's just constantly smiling.
That scene is that shot is so sick.
And then like the mom comes in, and she's like, after she runs away, like crying, or not crying, she just had like a weird fit. And then she comes back and she's normal, and she wants to talk to the person, but then like the girl comes in and she's crying, and then like the dad through all of this just smiling at him, like it's so weird.
Yeah. And I like the they're tiny little chickens that are moving. That's kind of a more obvious one. But I also love the grandma that she gives her a cigarette, lights it. The grandma doesn't move an inch, and then she uses the grandma's hands to toss the salad.
Yeah.
Like, what? That's awesome.
And there's probably some sort of like meaning behind it too.
Yeah, I do wish I could sit down and watch Eraserhead with David Lynch and just have him explain all of it.
What does this mean?
What are you doing there, David?
What is this?
Can I call you Davey? What's going on? Maybe one day the Make-A-Wish Foundation will give it to me, not for being sick, but just because I'm cool.
Out of respect.
Y'all, this kid does not have cancer, but hear me out. He's really cool. He is really cool. And he wants something real simple. He just wants to watch Eraserhead with David Lynch.
Oh, that's so. What if you faked cancer to do that?
That would be terrible. I don't even want to continue with this line of dialogue because I'm gonna. No matter what we say, we're gonna sound like awful people. The way I first heard about Eraserhead, I didn't know anything about David Lynch when I heard about Eraserhead for the first time. I may have heard his name before, but I was sitting on a plane, and through the window in front of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
I saw the reflection of someone's iPhone screen, and they were watching Eraserhead. And I saw just the sequence with the little squirmy things in claymation.
Yeah.
And I was scared, dude.
Yeah.
That was effective on me, just seeing that little sequence right there. And after the plane ride was up, I immediately asked him, I was like, hey, couldn't help but totally catch the reflection of the movie you were watching. What was it? And he told me what it was, and I was like, I have to watch that as soon as possible. And so I did, and I loved it.
Do you think, is it okay to watch airplane disaster movies on a plane?
The worst plane movie I've ever watched was American History X.
Okay.
Because the opening scene is a pretty close shot on some boobs.
Nice.
So immediately I tilt my screen a little bit, and then as it pulls back, we see that they're having sex against a huge Nazi poster that's like some kind of glorious Adolf Hitler painting thing, and that's where I was like, oh no,
I feel so bad for the 4-year-old right next to you.
Well, I tilted I tilted hard.
You did a tactical tilt. You're just like, oh.
Yeah,
you went into the corner and you're just like, nobody look at me.
I notoriously pick bad plane movies. That's the worst one, though.
I watched John Wick on a plane once. That's probably not the best.
Terrible.
People getting bipped. People get bipped a lot.
Bipped?
Shot. There's a lot of gratuitous violence.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just really worry about the sex scenes on airplanes. That's what I'm more worried about. You know.
Have you ever seen anybody watch porn on a plane?
No. And I hope I never do.
Why? I feel like it'd just be funny for the sake of it being funny.
Did you hear David Cross's bit about he went to the airport bookstore, right? And one of the magazines he saw was the world's most ball draining cum mag. I believe was the exact title. And he had this whole bit about, who needs the world's most ball draining cum mag right before they board a plane. So I thought that was pretty funny. But anyway, the last one that I wanted to bring up is, I think I had seen this movie like either right after or right before I rewatched Beetlejuice.
Ooh.
And did you notice the like aesthetic similarities?
Yeah, I can feel them, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say if Eraserhead and German Expressionism have a baby, or even just specifically the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari had a baby, they'd poop out Beetlejuice pretty easily. But yeah.
Interesting. What did you think about the chickens like spurting out like blood or whatever?
I love it.
Juice.
I mean, we can keep listing all the different weirdest things we can think of from the movie.
Is there anything that you specifically have like an insight or a theory about?
Oh no. I just love it.
Okay.
I can just understand. My whole thought was like this whole scary meeting the parents dynamic, which I don't know if I've ever been. I've never friends. It. I've met friends' parents where I knew going into it that I was likely going to be thought of as a boyfriend, even though I wasn't. And that was scary. You want to make a good impression, and especially if they're a very different family than you're used to, it's scarier. These
that's
people
the other thing is that
weren't
like
that different, but
if you go and you like meet a new family, like you don't know what their customs are. You don't know how like your interaction with their kid is like a normal interaction with the family. It's a real touch and go situation, and I feel like for people like us who are very, I don't know, maybe over the top is a way to put it. It's a very dangerous situation. So, do you have anything else that you wanna talk about? Overall, just like a interesting film. There's like, honestly, I would want to like go back and like read some more into it and like and then like watch it again, just like to try and like see. I might do that.
Please do,
like sometime in the future, and then like come back here and like much to like what I did with Star Wars. But for this.
Please do read about it and share what you've learned. No, I love the movie. I think it's really enjoyable to watch, and that was the other thing. Time flew when I was watching it with my sister. She was like, "Holy crap, we're 40 minutes into it?"
Yeah. Yeah, that
I was
happens. And then I paused it. I'm like, there's 40 minutes left. What happens in this movie? And then the movie was over.
Yeah. It flies by so quickly, even though it feels kind of slow during it, but then you realize that it's not slow at all.
Yeah, the pacing is really interesting.
Yeah, so overall, I love the movie. I think the visuals are unmatched by any other movie, and so I'm a big fan.
What did you think of the kid being sort of like a dinosaur alien, and what did you think of him killing the kid?
Oh, he needed to kill the kid. I mean, that's the only way the story works there, because there did not seem like any form of pro-kid at all in this film. And so unless someone came around and was like, hey, being a dad is not all that bad, you know, then you got to kill the kid. That's the only way.
Do you think that this movie is pro-choice?
Plot movie. I don't think this movie is about abortion, dude. I think this movie is weird, and I think in real life I would not be a fan of them killing a living baby. So I'll say that a born child in the world, I do not think we should kill that child. Plot-wise, I think he had to kill the child.
Yeah.
It was the only logical ending to the film.
Oh, yeah. And now I'm thinking about all the squibs that you were talking about, and there's like goo shooting out of place.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. It was so weird. I am not someone who gets affected by movies. I never cry. I never feel squeamish. That got me.
Really? That's funny, because my sister, I told her it was a horror movie. She was like, there was nothing scary at all about that movie. And I was like, dude, I think that movie's scary.
Yeah, it's scary. I feel like people think horror movies are like, I gotcha. No. Horror movies I feel like those movies are cheap and shitty. I feel like the movies that are true horror movies are the ones that fuck with your mind, and this movie definitely does that.
Yeah. I would partially agree. I
would say that it's definitely not a full horror movie, but there's definitely like scary parts in it.
Well, I was just gonna say I would partially agree with, movies that go boo are terrible. I think there are examples of good ones and examples of bad ones. In that category of
I mean, I feel like it was like movies to scare you that like the movies. The point is to scare you by going boo is shitty. Movies that use boo to scare you in important ways, but are really about something else. That's good. Like boo is a tool. It's not a movie.
I like how you're refusing to call it jump scare.
we set up the precedent. This is called boo and I'll run with it.
We're introducing our new favorite filmmaking technique. It's called boo. Okay, so I believe we've covered Eraserhead pretty well. So I wanted to close this podcast with some funny feedback I received. So I just sent out my documentary, and it's certainly not the most normal documentary you're going to see. I'm intentionally not spoiling it for those who are listening to this and weren't on the receiving end of my send out of my first rough draft.
If you weren't on the list, Truman hates you.
If you were to say if you weren't on the list, I don't value your opinion, that would be closer to true, but even still, it's not accurate. But that would be a funnier, leaving me with less defenses attack that you could have done. which again is not true, but I don't have much justification for why it's not true.
So it's true, but you just don't want to say that it's true.
No, I value people's opinion, but generally about different things than this. Anyway.
I was like, you're always trying to be so diplomatic. It's really funny.
Ben pointed that out. He said that a lot of the podcast is me saying, Roberto, you don't have to say that.
He literally told me the exact same thing.
Ben's a double agent.
Ben is a double agent. Fuck Ben.
But yeah, and also there were some other people that I thought about sending it to, but didn't feel like it was the right time to ask for a favor from them.
Yeah, and it'd be better. Yeah, or like you. The other thing is you might want to like save it for other people who can see it without.
Yeah, for the first time once it's farther along. But anyway, I got 2 pieces of feedback. One of them was a call from Ben.
Nice.
Who really, really liked it, and I was really, really happy. He definitely said he was bored at multiple different points in the film. But he did enjoy it, and he liked all the same things that I was hoping the audience would like about it. So,
I mean, I feel like Ben is your target audience here.
Yeah, he might be. And so I really appreciated his feedback. You know, he definitely was like, hey, the stuff that's rough in this cut, you know, the audio right now is
Ben will do that. Ben will do that.
Undeal-withable. But I knew that going into it, and he was like, dude, once you fix the audio, I really want to see it again, because I still feel like I may not have been able to get the full grasp of the film. But yeah, so he liked it for all the right reasons, and I was super happy about that. But then a boss of mine, so over the last summer, I went to camp, and I was on a special media team where we were making a camp reality show.
Interesting.
It's great. It's a lot of fun. It's basically if Cooking with Truman had a budget. So it's same style of humor and same all of that. It's just, you know, more of a plot and more stuff going on. So anyway, I worked on that, and I worked for him, and so I sent it to him, and he called me out on some things that I disagreed with his opinion on. He, like, right off the bat was like, before I even watch this, it's stupid for you to say that this movie is slow. Movies should never be slow. You know, they should only be slow if you're trying to build up to something, which I totally agree with if we're talking about action movies.
Or narratives.
Or just narratives in general, most of the time.
Yeah. Also, rules are meant to be broken.
I think I have a real smart reason why this movie is slow, and I felt like it was just only fair to give a warning. But he didn't like that at all. And then
I don't know how you could make this movie fast.
Have you seen any of it?
No.
It's okay. It's okay. That's why I sent it out to as many people as I sent it out to, because I figured that if I send it out to 12 people, maybe only 2 of them are going to watch it.
I'll get to it. I just keep on forgetting.
It's cool.
I imagine that once
cool,
I get
man.
busy, I'll watch it.
It's cool. I got other stuff. For you, man.
I feel bad.
Top priority is read that 10-page screenplay I sent you. The most recent thing I sent you.
Okay.
That's what I haven't shown that to anybody else.
Okay, I'll do that.
Feel honored.
I'll get on
it. But anyway, and then he said, 1 minute in, this opening sequence definitely needs music, you know, which was one of the questions I asked. You know, he's like, also, not all of these shots are worth keeping in the documentary, you know. You really should look back and evaluate which of these shots absolutely need to be here. Which I agree. I have some other motivations behind it, which is sad, but yeah, I agree with him there, but sadly I may not change that. And then he said like 2 minutes in, wow, nothing's happened. And then he was like, 4 minutes in, really, Truman? Really? Was his comment. And then at 7 minutes in, he said, all right, I'm out. Show me something better. He was like, Truman, I know you can do better. I've seen your work. I like your work, but this is awful. So in a way, in total, the documentary has gotten the responses that were expected and wanted. So there we go.
That's funny.
Do you have anything you want to end the show on with?
No. I mean, hopefully by next episode I will have watched Return of the Jedi. I will have maybe watched Eraserhead again. I will maybe have watched your movie. And I will definitely read the scripts. So we'll have all of those to go off of. Hopefully.
But yeah, and we'll talk about Pi, most importantly.
Yes. The next episode is Pi. I feel like the more and the more that these episodes go on, that we're like they're becoming more of segments and less about like the individual movies, which I guess is good because it diversifies it a little bit.
Probably naturally evolving podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, Pi, Darren Aronofsky, my favorite of his movies. Can't wait to talk about it.
I can't wait to see it.
All right, tune in next week, y'all.
Bye.